Welcome to NACTV Reads the News. My name is Gwen Jacobsen, and I'm one of many volunteers that help create programming for our station. NACTV can be seen on MTS Channel 30 or 1030, Westman Cable Channel 117, Bell Satellite Channel 592, or online at nactv.tv. These programs are made possible by our volunteers, staff, advertisers, as well as donations made by you, the viewers. If you are enjoying your NACTV experience, please consider supporting us by either donation or volunteering. You can contact our office at 204-476-2639 or at nactv@wcgwave.ca. This week's edition of the Nippua Banner and Press is dated Friday, April the 8th, 2022. The big headline on the front page is, "Did you get our good side?" These bulls weren't camera shy, but camera curious, as the JAC Red Angus Buy the Beef bull sale held on April the 5th, starting at 1 p.m. And it goes on to say that the auction goers make moves at the Buy the Beef bull sale. Auction goers filled the bleachers at the Nippua Agricultural Complex on April 5th for the 18th annual JAS Red Angus Buy the Beef bull sale. The sale kicked off at 1 p.m. with bidding proceeding swiftly. About 65 bulls were up for sale at the auction, both from the JAS Red Angus and Camo Cattle Company. The highest bid was $15,750, while the lowest was $3,000, with the bulls fetching an average price of around $5,000. According to the DLMS report, only one animal was passed up on. Next, we have the town of Nippua news by Owen Deverell. The town of Nippua has released details on its website related to its financial plan for 2022. These are the initial results of deliberations between town administration and the finance committee that had begun back in November. These numbers could still be altered as a result of upcoming discussions with ratepayers, as a public hearing on the plan has been scheduled for Tuesday, April 19th. It will take place at the council chambers in the municipal building and begin at 6 p.m. For general operating fund, as for allocation of the money in the 2022 financial plan, the general operating fund for this year will be an estimated $16,984,793. That number is up by $2,722,532 from last year's estimated amount. The actuals for expenditures in general operating in 2021 were $10,863,891. The most significant reason for the increase appears in the expenditure for transportation services, which goes from a little over $2 million to $6.1 million. And the estimated amount for the utility operating fund will be just over $4,500,734, a decrease of around $1.6 million compared to the budgeted amount that was set aside last year. The actuals on spending for utility in 2021 was $3,082,082, I believe. Councillor Daryl Gerard, who also heads the Finance Committee, noted that these initial numbers are encouraging, as they're an indication of the growth and prosperity being generated locally. Gerard also indicated that it is very important for ratepayers to participate in these upcoming discussions. I always encourage the ratepayer to be involved in the process and see what the priorities are for municipal spending. And if they don't agree, to offer suggestions as to what the priorities need to be, said Gerard. After the public hearing on April 19th, the financial plan for the town of Nippua will be reviewed. Final approval on the numbers will not occur until early May. Carbury's Folk Pharmacy sold by Gladwin Scott. Super Thrifty has purchased Folk Pharmacy in Carbury effective April 1st. Jason Falk of McDonald graduated from Portage Collegiate and then in 2000 from the Faculty of Pharmacy at the University of Manitoba. He began working with pharmacist Dennis McMillan in Carbury and purchased the business in 2007. Nadine Falk, his wife, graduated from William Morton Collegiate in Gladstone and the 1999 class of the Faculty of Pharmacy at the University of Manitoba. They have two daughters, Vanessa in grade 10 at Vincent Massey Collegiate in Brandon, and Natasha, who is in grade 12 and will graduate from the Hockey Academy in Kelowna, BC. Their female hockey team was very successful and won the national championship this year. The Falks plan to move to Brandon and will work for Super Thrifty, who owns several pharmacies in Western Manitoba. Alana Bailey, an honors graduate from Carbury Collegiate and graduate of the Faculty of Pharmacy at James Cook University in Townsville, Queensland in Australia, has been employed by Super Thrifty in Brandon for 8 years. She will take over as the manager of the Carbury location. Okay, UCT offers some support to Roxy Theatre. On Tuesday, April the 5th, Roxy Theatre board members Kate Jackson, shown here on the left, and Kay Diath, shown here, receive a check for $100 from the UCT Nippua member Leonard Pritchard. The UCT recently donated that same amount to several local groups as it looks to expand its support to local organizations. And a big winner for a local bingo player. A couple of bingo players got a nice splash of cash this past week. Here it shows Diane Campbell split the prize for the Toonie Pot and Blackout consolation in NACTV's Bigger Bingo with one other winner for a total of $2,569 each. The other winner elected to remain anonymous. Okay. Out of Helen's Kitchen, Helen Drysdale. This week she features women in higher education. Well into the early 1900s, society's expectation of women was that they had no need for further education other than the 3 R's, as their natural role was providing for their husbands' needs and raising children. It was thought that advanced education was beyond the abilities of the fairer sex. Oh my goodness. The energy devoted to brain work was energy diverted from reproductive organs, thus endangering their female apparatus and harming their health. Higher learning meant women would become less feminine, destroying home life and society as a whole. The well-adjusted woman should desire to make homemaking her sole career and the source of her fulfillment. Most families assumed their daughters would leave a career upon marriage and therefore funded only their sons' education. At that time, most women were employed as domestics, dressmakers, millineries, or typists. In 1881, there was a massive influx of immigrants from Europe to Manitoba, and teachers were in short supply. At that time, most teachers were men. In 1882, Manitoba passed an act to establish normal schools for the training of teachers. In 1886, in Winnipeg's normal school, 4 women applied for admission and immediate opposition to their requests followed. Only one of the 4 women enrolled in the fall session. When the women graduated and found work, they were paid a much less salary than their male counterparts for the same job. The University of Manitoba was established in 1877. Initially, both students and staff were male. The University of Manitoba did not permit women in post-secondary education at its colleges. Jessie Livingston Holmes and 3 other women challenged this rule. In 1886, Jessie passed her matriculation and became the first woman to study at Manitoba College and the first female to graduate from the University of Manitoba in 1889. In 1892, Miss Hattie Foxton became the first female graduate of the Manitoba Medical College with first-class standing in the examinations for Doctor of Medicine and Master of Surgery. In 1906, the Manitoba government established the Manitoba Agricultural College to educate male students in the practices of farming. Generously for the women, in 1910, the Agricultural College established Household Sciences, later known as Home Economics. The predominant Victorian message of the time was that a woman's place was in the home, and that message came through loud and clear at college. One of the objectives was to make the students aware that homemaking was an honorable profession. To apply, the girls had to be 16 years old, able to prove evidence of moral character, a certificate of good health signed by their parents, and enough English education to succeed in their lectures and exams. That year, 21 women took the first course offered by the newly developed Department of Household Science. They were required to wear uniforms, that the skirt had to clear the ground by exactly 4 inches. Legislation in 1912 enabled women to practice as barristers on the same terms as men. In 1913, Manitoba passed legislation for the registration of nurses. With that came a new 3-year course at the Winnipeg University, which at the time was the first province in Canada to do so. By 1914, enrollment at the university was 974 students. 155 were women, 142 in arts, 6 in medicine, 6 in law, and 1 in pharmacy. There was an increase in the number of women employed at the University of Manitoba by 1920. However, they were much lower paid than their male colleagues. Higher education for women was a long journey, but once women set foot in the classroom, there was no stopping them, and the women were on campus to stay. The household science students learned about raising their food as well as cooking it. The old cookbooks of that era talk about the lack of eggs in the winter and the abundant supply in the spring. A hen worth her board and keep produces 20 eggs a month during the summer months. When the hens were most prolific, eggs were served in many ways for a meal. When the hen no longer produced her 20 eggs a month, she became creamed chicken on toast, which is one of the following recipes: creamed chicken, and the other is eggs a la goldenrod. Oh, that's hilarious. Spruce Plains RCMP report by Corporal Jacob Stanton of the Spruce Plains RCMP. During the week of March 28th to April 3rd, Spruce Plains RCMP dealt with 43 police activities. On March 28th, RCMP responded to a report of a break-and-enter to a residence in Glenella. Numerous items, including firearms, were stolen. The matter is still under investigation. Police were dispatched to a report of an assault with a weapon in Nippua. It was later determined that an assault took place. However, no weapon was used. One male was arrested, charged, and released with a future court appearance. On March 29th, RCMP received a report of a motor vehicle collision in the RM of North Cypress Langford, where the driver fled on foot. The driver was located down the road shortly after, showing signs of impairment. Breath samples were obtained and were over the legal limit. The driver was charged, suspended from driving, and will be appearing in court at a later date. Police responded to a report of a disturbance in Minnedosa, where there was insufficient evidence to to proceed further. On March 30th, RCMP responded to a report of threats being uttered in Kelwood. The matter is still under investigation. Police received a report of an impaired driver in the RM of North Cypress Langford. Police located the vehicle and found the driver to be impaired. One male was arrested, charged, and released with a future court appearance. On March 31st, RCMP received a report of a dangerous driver in the RM of North Cypress Langford. Patrols were made, but the vehicle was not located. Police responded to a suspicious person report at a gas station in Gladstone. One person was detained for investigation, where it was later determined nothing criminal took place and the person was released. On April 1st, RCMP responded to a break-and-enter in Kelwood, where a female allegedly forced her way into a residence and attempted to assault the homeowner with a weapon. The matter is still under investigation. Police received a report of mischief, where a vehicle was damaged in Minnedosa. There was insufficient evidence to proceed further. On April 2nd, RCMP received a complaint of a person reported to be breaching police-ordered conditions in Kelwood. The complaint was investigated, where it was determined there was not enough evidence for a charge to be laid. The matter was deemed unfounded. Police responded to a report of mischief in Kelwood, where a window was broken at the school. There was insufficient evidence to proceed further. RCMP conducted various proactive traffic enforcement, engaging with several motorists. RCMP conducted 8 traffic enforcement actions during this reporting period. What's next? Turn the page. All right, in-person events back at Nippua Public Library by Kira Patterson. The Nippua Public Library is keeping busy with a lineup of events, familiar programs, and a new monthly feature for April. Since the pandemic put a pin on many events and even the ability of the library to be open, this is the first time in nearly 2 years that in-person events will be able to take place there. Debbie Unger, branch manager for the Nippua Public Library, said that while they are excited to get back to some sort of normal, they're still being cautious as well. An old-time favorite that is returning to the library will be the Storytime program. This program is open to preschool-aged children and their caregivers and features picture book reading, I Spy games, and crafts. Unger stated that pre-registration for Storytime is required at this time, as they want to keep groups reasonably small for now. Also coming up this month at the library will be a celebration of Canadian National Film Day on April the 20th. The focus of this year's event is on Indigenous filmmakers. The Nippua Public Library will be showing a movie called The Grizzlies at 2 p.m. That's on April 20th. The film is based on a true story of a man moving to Nunavut to be a teacher, dealing with the challenges being faced by the community, and how he wins his students' trust and gives them a sense of pride and purpose by starting a lacrosse team. On April 27th, the library will be hosting a Manitoba author. The author series is something the library has done fairly regularly over the years, with the exception of during the pandemic. Unger noted that they like to get local Manitoba authors out to do readings, and she added that they're planning to have an event like this every month. April's guest author is Gayleen Dushishin of Gilbert Plains. She will be reading from her debut novel called A Strange Kind of Comfort. Unger said that she'd been in touch with Dushishin before COVID-19 hit, and they've been waiting for a chance to host her ever since. She noted the library has Dushishin's book in stock, and it has been checked out several times since it came out. It's nice to have someone whose book has been out for a while, she shared, noting that they often have authors come whose books are very new, so there hasn't been a chance for readers to check out their works. The event starts at 5:30 p.m. and books will be available for purchase and signing. And again, that's on April the 27th. The start of a new month also means a new nonprofit feature at the library. This is a new initiative that the library started this January. Every month this year, the Nippua Library is spotlighting a different volunteer organization within the community. We're always looking at finding ways to make the library relevant to the community, explained Unger, adding that showcasing what the community has to offer is just one of the ways they can do this. So far this year, they have featured Victoria's Quilts Canada, the Nippua Rock Sea Theatre, and the Beautiful Plains Museum and Archives. This month's organization is the Beautiful Plains Horticultural Society. The library has a display up with books on gardening, yard designs, and accessories. As well, the Horticultural Society has provided free samples of flower and vegetable seeds. Anyone who borrows a book from the display can be entered to win a prize at the end of the month. Anyone interested in getting more information about the events or registering for story time can contact the library at 204-476-5648 or visit them in person at 280 Davidson Street. Coming up is a Nippua Rotary used book sale from May the 3rd to the 5th at the Yellowhead Arena from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. each of these days. Donations can be placed in book drop-off bins at Gillen Schmall Insurance, Home Hardware, Co-op Grocery, Arts Forward, and the Royal Bank. And if you need to have books picked up, you can contact Murray Newton at 204-476-2542. A free informational session took place at Arts Forward on Tuesday, April the 5th, hosted by the Beautiful Plains Community Foundation. The presentation was all about how to be a good board member, from what the role of a board member entails, to how to be effective in one's role, to what to watch for as a board member. This session was part of a series of presentations called the Building Capacity Series. The next session in the series, scheduled for the fall, will be Understanding Financial Records for a Board. Now, the sports section. King of the Tiger Hill by Owen Deverall. The Boissevain Border Kings are once again the top team in the Tiger Hills Hockey League. After amassing an undefeated record of 18-0-0 in the regular season, the Kings remained perfect in the playoffs, going 9-0. That dominance was capped off by sweeping the Minnesota Bombers in the best-of-5 final in 3 straight games. The series-winning game was a 9-3 win in Boissevain on Wednesday, March the 30th. Tyler Dittmer scored 3 times for the Border Kings, while Riley Zimmer also added a pair of goals. The other scorers were Nathan Breer, Tyler Lewis, Patrick Lees, and Zenon Zimmer, who ended up being named the playoff MVP. Ryan Haino, Matt Saylor, and James McCarville all scored for the Bombers. This is Boissevain's second straight Tiger Hills title, as the Border Kings won their first championship in 2018-19. The 2019-20 final between Boissevain and the Nippua Farmers was cancelled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The entire 2020-21 season was also cancelled for the same reason. Minnesota is still playing for a place in Manitoba Cup Championship by Owen Deverall. Despite falling to Boissevain in the Tiger Hills Hockey League final, there is still a bit more hockey to play for the Minnesota Bombers. Minnesota is one of 4 teams currently competing for the Manitoba Cup Senior Championship. The winner of this 2-round playoff will represent Manitoba at the Allen Cup National Championship. The other teams involved are the Boissevain Border Kings, Minnesota Elkhorn Seahawks from the North Central Hockey League, and the Warren Mercs from the Southeastern Manitoba Hockey League. Minnedosa is facing Warren in a 2-game home-and-home series. The team with the most goals after those 2 games will move on to face the winner of the Boissevain Minnesota Elkhorn matchup. In Game 1, Warren was victorious by the score of 7-6. Game 2 of the series goes Friday, April 8th in Minnedosa. The start time is scheduled for 8:30 p.m. And the Niverville Nighthawks unveil their logo team colors. Submitted by Niverville Nighthawks. The Niverville Nighthawks, the newest team to join the Manitoba Junior Hockey League, have reached a major development milestone. The time has come to unveil their official logo. Being a community team, the Nighthawks tested out multiple color schemes and logos to gather feedback from an informal public focus group of around 100 people. The board of directors used the information that was collected as part of its final decision-making process. I poured through different sports logos and pictures of birds or hawks online to provide our designers with ideas and try to determine the look and feel we were trying to capture for our team, said Nighthawks board member Ray Dowse. We were really looking for something that would connect with both the players and community as a whole. For the design, the team turned to Brooks Freeman Design out of Verdun, which has an impressive history working with hockey logos and uniforms, including the Prince Albert Raiders, Brandon Wheat Kings, Verdun Oil Capitals, and most recently Nippua Titans rebrand. The team knew they wanted to do something very unique to not just the MJHL, but hockey in general, said Brooks Freeman. We tried a couple of versions with different shades of purples, grays, blues, and reds before settling on the navy, red, gray, and yellow. This bold color scheme is sure to stand out, and I think it really helps the logos and jerseys become more appealing. Head coach and general manager Calvin Ketch is fully on board with the final design. I'm a bit biased, but I think it's the best logo in the whole world. It represents us and our town very well. All of a sudden, this feels very real. We have a name and a distinct look, as that hawk is very menacing and mean, very proud and bold. We're stoked. And Dax Turner, impressive for U of M track team by Owen Devereaux. It has been an extremely impressive month for Dax Tanner and the University of Manitoba track and field team. Turner, who is a former student at Nippua Area Collegiate Institute, recently competed for the U of M in a pair of premier events. The first of these was the 2022 Canada West Track and Field Championship on March 18th and 19th. Turner competed and turned in an incredible performance. First, he would place a solid 4th in the high jump. Turner followed that up with a dominant display in the triple jump, beating his competition by 0.26 meters to win gold. These results would lead to Turner named the Canada West Male Rookie of the Year and the University of Manitoba's Male Athlete of the Week. Turner's performance also helped to push the University of Manitoba Bison men's team on to the Canada West Championship. This is the first regional title for the men's team since 2009. After a successful conference championship, Turner and the Bisons headed to St. John, New Brunswick for the U Sports Track and Field Championships. At this national event, Turner won a pair of bronze medals, one for high jump and the other for triple jump. Another notable performance with a bit of a local connection was from Anna McConnell, who won gold in the shot put. McConnell's father, Brad, is a former NACI athlete. And Abby Cramer of Plumas commits to Olds College. A member of the Central Plains Capitals, who has some strong local ties to the region, has committed to the Olds College athletics program. The Olds College Broncos have announced via social media that Abby Cramer of Plumas will be a member of the women's hockey team in the fall of 2022. Cramer, who missed the majority of the Capitals season due to injury, plays center/forward. Olds College is located in Olds, Alberta, and play in the Alberta College Athletics Conference. In a media statement congratulating Cramer on the commitment, the Central Plains Capitals noted that Abby is known for a physical style of play, her work ethic, both on and off the ice, and her great team attitude. Congratulations to Abby and the Cramer family on this announcement. And Brady Stange commits to Portage College by Owen Devereaux. One more member of the Nippua Titans is moving on to the next level in their playing and personal development. Defenseman Brady Stange has committed to the Portage College, based out of Lac La Biche, Alberta. The Portage College Voyageurs play in the Alberta College's Athletic Conference. Stange, who is from Red Deer, Alberta, spent one season with the Titans, playing 35 games for the team in the 2021-22 MJHL season. The 20-year-old scored 2 goals and 5 assists and had 59 penalty minutes. Now the Carbury North Cyprus Langford News by Gladwin Scott. Excerpts from Carbury Town Council March meeting. At the March meeting, a general hearing was held to change the Wells subdivision from agriculture to residential status. 2 individuals attended to obtain more information. Planning Officer Andrews stated that this move was inevitable for the town to grow. Council moved that the Joint Committee agree to split the current Future Recreation Reserve Fund, which is $1.4 million, held at the CACF 50-50, and that each council reinvest their share with the foundation as they see fit. The animal control policy was passed and can be viewed on the town's website. Tricia Zander has resigned her position as senior elections official to be available for tax collection. Grady Stevenson, the CAO, has been appointed the new SEO. Stevenson has completed his municipal management courses and will graduate April 28th. Councillor John Anderson has been appointed to the Manitoba Apprenticeship Board. Councillor Bill Kalinowicz questioned whether non-resident contractors needed a license to work on town projects. Many contractors create garbage for the town dump. He also suggested a town motto, where your dreams are realized. Council decided to hire someone for 80 hours to help move from the temporary town office to the new one on Main Street. So this move is going to commence on Friday, April the 1st. Here and there. Carbury Plains Arts Council will host its Easter craft sale in the Community Hall Saturday, April the 9th from 10 to 4. Zoe Couples, Carbury Collegiate graduate and former Nippua Midgets hockey team captain, enjoyed a great season with the Bottineau Lady Jacks women's hockey team. They qualified for the national championships in St. Louis, where the Lady Jacks beat Boston College 5-0 in the semifinal before losing in the final to the Assiniboine Community College Cougars 2-1. Other Westman players on the Bottineau roster were Jessica Wither of Nippua, Trinity Tanner of Waiwasikapo, and Jada Chartrand of Dauphin. Brett Janssens, another Carbury graduate and former GCB Wildcats member, along with several other Westman players, led the Lumberjacks to the national semifinals in St. Louis. The Boys of Vain Border Kings completed a perfect Tiger Hills Hockey League season with a 9-3 win over the Minnesota Bombers, East Division champions, March 30th, to sweep their best-of-3 final series. Dustin Fisher of Carbury is a member of the Border Kings. In Manitoba's senior hockey playoffs, Boys of Vain meets Elkhorn, the North Central winners, and Minnedosa plays the Warren Mercs, the Southeast Manitoba winners, in 2-game total point series, as we've mentioned previously. The Glenboro Panthers handily won both the girls and boys Provincial A basketball championships in Fisher River, March 17th to the 19th. The girls defeated Grandview 81-29 in the final, and the boys, who won their 8th provincial crown, downed Moose Lake 93-68. Former Glenboro teacher and coach Rick Scott led his Dalhousie Tigers to their 9th consecutive Atlantic Conference volleyball title. Due to COVID-19 and some key injuries, the Tigers finished 3rd in their 6-team league. However, in playoffs, they defeated the Acadia Axe women and the St. Mary's Huskies to qualify for the Nationals in Calgary. They played well, but lost to the Alberta Pandas and the Brock Badgers. Canada's Boys of Summer, the Toronto Blue Jays, opened their 162-game schedule April the 8th against the Texas Rangers. Carbury Minor Hockey Awards Night. On March the 23rd, Carbury held its Minor Hockey Awards ceremony. The winners were D.W. Elliott Award, which is for most sportsmanlike Pee-wee, went to Lucy Waldner. CMHA Leadership Award Pee-wee went to Jack Polasak. CMHA Most Improved Pee-wee went to Alyssa McCallum. Brian Lalonde Award to Dawson Smart. CMHA Female Commitment and Inspiration Award went to Lucy Waldner. Derek Bomack Memorial Award for Most Sportsmanlike Bantam went to Van Anderson. John Myers Memorial Trophy went to Jack Ramsey. CMHA Most Improved Bantam went to Keaton Snaith. The Bev Buck Memorial Award went to Dady Pierce. Trojans win high school hockey crown in OT. The Westman High School Hockey League final was shortened to a 1-game sudden victory match in Killarney Wednesday, March 24th, due to Russell students leaving on a spring break field trip. The Major Pratt Trojans overcame a 3-1 deficit to tie the game in the 3rd period and win the league championship 4-3 in overtime. League co-presidents Corey Forbes of Glenboro and Jason Elf of Dauphin were in attendance to present the championship trophy to Major Pratt co-captains Luke DeCorby, Tyson Tibble, and Owen Biley. Special caps were presented to the Trojans. Luke DeCorby was the recipient of the league scoring crown with 101 points, and the playoff MVP with 2 goals and an assist in the final game. The final game was televised on WCG television. A special league meeting will be held in late April. Carbury and Area Community Foundation unveils brand new logo by Kira Patterson. It's the dawn of a fresh new look for the Carbury and Area Community Foundation, or CACF. The foundation just unveiled their brand new logo on Thursday, April 7th, developed with the help of some inspiration from the community. A little over a year ago, Carbury and Area Community Foundation reached out to local residents asking for their input and inspiration as we embarked on our journey to a new logo, explained CACF Executive Director Brianna Renwick. The current logo has been in place for quite some time now, and it was decided that it was time for something fresh and new. She noted that they put out an invitation to all community members, past and present, of all ages, to share their ideas of what Carbury and area means to them. With the request for the ideas, CACF reminded community members of the Foundation's values: commitment, thoughtfulness, support, integrity, courage, and inclusiveness. We were overwhelmed by the number of amazing concepts that came forward and the descriptions that accompanied them. We cannot thank those enough who took the time to create digital designs or hand sketch and color ideas. Hearing from community members was exactly the support the Foundation needed to work together to come up with this new logo, expressed Renwick. While the campaign for a new logo started last year as part of CACF's 25th anniversary celebrations, it took them a little longer to come up with the finished product than they anticipated. Like many things over the past 2 years, the pandemic had an impact on our ability to move forward as quickly as we would have liked. We are grateful to be back in person, meeting now, and we were able to collaborate over the past few months to finalize this design, Renwick stated. Thank you to Carbury Signs for working with Carbury and Area Community Foundation to create this new look. Referred to by the Foundation as a fresh twist on an old favorite, the new logo resembles a sunrise peeking over a sand dune with green fields and water in the foreground. The colors and shapes in the logo each have significance to them. The yellow signifies glowing history and bright future of the Carbury area. The sandy color depicts the sandhills at Sprucewoods Provincial Park, practically on the doorstep of Carbury. The aquifer is represented by the blue piece in the logo, while the green signifies greens, paces, and crops in the areas. I think that means green spaces and crops in the areas. Now we have a cartoon by a local artist, and he happens to be the producer of our NACTV Reads the News by Jeremy Vogt. It's called Josh and Laura by Jeremy Vogt. As you can see, it's a conversation between a man and a lady. The man says, all the COVID mandates and restrictions are over and just in time for spring. He says, we've got a lot of lost time to make up for. He says, buffets, concerts, festivals, and the girl says, just be careful not to overdo it. And he says, I'm going to be self-isolating for the next 48 hours. Now we have some more sports news here. Arden Curling Club hosts 2022 Mixed Bonspiel. It was held from March 31st to April the 3rd with 20 teams competing. The club champions were Neil Turner Skip, Donna Scott, Kayla Hunter, and Ashley Hankey. Their team is not pictured here, but the winners of the first event are pictured here, sponsored by Plett Construction, and they were Terry Ursel Skip, Tanner Agonia, Glenn Ursel, and Tracy Agonia. And over here are the winners of the second event, sponsored by Delmar Commodities. It was won by Dave Clark Skip, Donna Scott, Jordan Twerdum, Amy Clark, and Carrie Clark. And the third event winners, sponsored by Enns Brothers, was won by Hans Peterson Skip, Darla Hankey, Christine Peterson, and Michelle Bryden. And we have a girl here from Nippua signs with the ACC Cougars. Kiana Gunnarsson Epp from Nippua will join the Assiniboine Community College, or ACC, Cougars women's soccer program for the 2022/23 season. Gunnarsson Epp is an honor roll student currently attending Nippua Area Collegiate Institute. She played soccer for the Nippua Tigers, where she was a co-captain of the team. She is a multi-sport athlete, competing for the school's track and field team, even qualifying for provincials. Gunnarsson Epp also had a history on the ice, having passed her gold interpretive level for figure skating. She now gives back to sports by coaching youth soccer and can skate. She said, "I am competitive, have a strong desire and drive and positive attitude. I play soccer for the pure joy, the competition, and the teamwork. The longer I play, the more passionate for it I become." Kiana is a strong all-around player, winning almost every 50-50 ball, said co-coach Jerry Roken. She knows her position and how to attack the ball, and that helped lead Nippua to victory in the MHSAA Regional Soccer Final. Gunnarsson Epp will be taking the college's medical administration program in the fall. The Assiniboine Cougars teams compete in men's and women's volleyball, men's and women's soccer, and men's and women's futsal, which is a variation of indoor soccer, in the Manitoba College's athletic conference, with the winning competing for the Canadian College Athletics Association Championship. The women's hockey team plays in the American College Hockey Association. Okay, so I'm going to go back where we missed a page, and I will read Ken Waddell's article right in the center called Troubled Times. This week, we kick off the first of 4 weeks of our annual Everything for Your Farm editions. We are thankful for our farmers and our ag industry. As the saying goes, the farmers feed us all. We are also thankful as a newspaper and a community for the companies that serve our farm industry. Many of those companies are featured in this week's color center spread. Farming has faced many challenges over the decades in Western Canada. There's the expected effects of drought, flooding, hail, and frost. Those things happen, and often unpredictably. Add to that railway strikes and threats of strikes, climbing fuel prices and fertilizer shortages, and you have a recipe for stress. Stress on the farmers, suppliers, and consumers. Farmers in the ag industry are faced with tough decisions every day, but they have to make them and then live by them. We have to live by our decisions too. This year is unique as we are in the turmoil of war. The tanks and guns, the landmines, and the horrific death toll are far away, but the effects are felt around the world. The country of Ukraine is under attack by Russia. Russia, by all accounts, should have won this war weeks ago, but they haven't. Rest assured, they won't quit unless they are forced to do so. Losing possibly thousands of soldiers and hundreds of pieces of military equipment will not deter them. Only brute force will stop Russia, or more specifically, Mr. Putin. Putin has been clearly described by people who know him and known his wrath as being insanely possessed with the desire of restoring some version of a Russian empire. It's an unrealistic goal and likely an unachievable goal, but that doesn't deter Putin. For him, it's a do-or-die situation, and he knows he's going to die someday. He's close to 70 years old, and while he may be seen as insane or close to it, he is not stupid. And for now, at least, he is in control of a very large country with a very large military. That they are losing the war for now in Ukraine is a testament to the will of the Ukrainian people and the apparent ineptness of the Russian military machine. It seems that the loyalty, dedication, and training of the Russian military are all lacking the intensity required to be effective in a real war fought on foreign ground. The effects of the Ukraine war are being felt around the world. Certainly the destruction of buildings and infrastructure, the deaths and injuries, and the overwhelming refugee influx to surrounding countries makes for a terrifying situation. For our farmers, the economic destruction is causing a lot of concerns. Supplies are being wildly disrupted by the war and by sanctions. Ukraine produces a lot of food. Their farmers may not be able to plant all the crops this year. They may be hindered by landmines, by actual battles, by fuel shortages, etc. The list goes on. Will Ukraine and Russia even be able to feed themselves this year or in years to come? Will European countries be able to survive with reduced supplies of Russian gas and oil? As our farmers head to the fields in the next few weeks, the war must weigh heavily on their minds and their bank accounts. As we approach Easter time, it would be helpful and wise to turn our attention to the Christian message of hope and salvation. In the bluntest of terms, we can work and strive all we want, but in the final analysis, we were born, we live, and we die. The hope and promise of heaven is the only certainty we can cling to in good times and in tough times alike. It's important that we make the best of a tough situation. In Canada, we have much to be thankful for. We are still prosperous, but our current governments are doing their best to erode that prosperity. The ongoing nonsense about leaving the gas and oil industry in the past and doing it very quickly is basically stupid. Not only stupid, but unreachable. We don't have enough oil and gas to get us to the dreamy place where we can do without oil and gas. We may possibly reach the goal of zero emissions, but don't hold your breath. We are likely decades away from that point. What we need to do is grow what we can, wherever we can, be it food or industry. Look after what lies in front of us each day and place our faith in God and to some extent our own efforts. That's what our farmers do every day, every year. We need to learn from our farmers and support them. And a disclaimer, the views expressed in this column are the writer's personal views and are not to be taken as being the view of the banner and press staff. And now, Rita Friesen's article, Homebodies, is called Got a Booter. Not booster, booter. I understand the term booter is distinctly prairie, Manitoba and Saskatchewan to be precise. It's a term I have used and heard many times. The first booter I recall was self-inflicted, and no, they are not all self-inflicted. Back in the day, we walked to the end of the lane to catch the school bus. A neighboring family, not from our catchment, drove to this point and caught the bus with us, the Taves girls. It was spring. There was a semi-firm layer of snow hiding the water that had accumulated in the ditch. I decided to tramp over the banks, despite Mr. T's admonition that the snow was not firm enough to support my weight. Well, self-willed and strong-willed, I then stamped my way across the ditch snow only to sink, one leg staying above and the other plunging to the dividing point. Appalled, I extradited myself, refusing the offer to be escorted back home for a dry change of clothing and miss the bus. I, head held high, mounted the steps of the less than cozy bus and began a dreary day. 'Twas a long time before I thoroughly dried out. That is the first one I firmly recall. The other event earlier in my life is held together with family folklore. My earliest years were lived in the Cane area. Here the rich soil was gumbo when wet, heavy, mud-caking, boot-sucking gumbo. My sister and I mired down on our way to visit our grandparents on the other side of the driveway. It was not a boot filled with water or snow. It was a boot abandoned mid-journey. It would be safe to say that I lost a booter. The taller the rubber boot, the further afield one can adventure. Walking slowly, deliberately, and very carefully, creating no waves, one could traverse the depths and cross a puddle dry. Anyone who knows me knows that I seldom move slowly, deliberately, or very carefully. First, only the rim of the trouser tucked into the boot becomes soggy. Not so bad. Continue until crisis point has been exceeded, and then it was a case of in for a penny, in for a pound. Socks soaked, deed done, scolding earned, play until one wants to quit. Progressing to parenting, I would watch from a window as a child or three advanced into the gathered waters. I knew the depth of the water and the height of the boots and the spirit of the children. Simply get the dry gear ready for their re-entry. Without a doubt, I may have raised my voice. The echo of my father's comment after one of my shrew moments. Her voice was ever soft, gentle and low. A quote from King Lear wasn't always enough to still the storm after an eruption. And then Dad had a quote for every situation. By choice, I have not experienced a booter for decades. By chance, I have witnessed some. They are moments of memory, pure joy turning to dismay in an instant. It is a rite of passage for children and puddles. Haven't we all done that? Finding Calm in Chaos. Faithfully Yours by Neil Stroshine. For as long as I can remember, this world has been moving from one crisis to another. But the crisis of the last 3 years are having a direct impact on people who live in my community and make me feel like these things are happening right outside my front door. Let me explain what I mean. The COVID-19 pandemic has touched every person I know. As the first of several lockdowns drew near, the leaders of my church, with the members' full support, announced that our congregation will fully comply with all public health orders as they are issued. Like all faith communities in this province, we were required to suspend in-person services at different times. We had to find other ways to keep in touch with our people, but those were inconveniences at best. We are happy to do what we can in the ongoing fight to protect everyone from exposure to COVID-19 and its variants. COVID-19 had an impact on my family as well. We postponed planned vacations, adapted our shopping trips to public health orders, and stayed home instead of going out with friends for meals or visits. We were subjected to increased screenings before we could enter a hospital or doctor's office, but we received the healthcare services we needed when we needed them. And the screenings we experienced were just as necessary as the security checks we went through prior to boarding an airplane or going to our seats at a Major League Baseball game, so we had no problem with them. The Ukraine crisis has touched many people in our area. Several homes are displaying Ukrainian flags. Those who live in these homes have family or friends still living in Ukraine. They fell under Russian domination shortly after the war. They gained their independence when the Soviet Union collapsed. Now they are wondering if they will still be an independent country at this time next year. Their families in Canada are praying for them, and by flying the Ukrainian flag, they are inviting us to do the same. Over the past few years, I have drawn much comfort from the words of hope Jesus gave his disciples the night before he died. He did all he could to prepare them for his arrest and the trials, torture, and torment he would experience after that. He knew that the crowds that hailed him as king on Palm Sunday would be standing outside Pontius Pilate's judgment hall 4 days later, calling for him to be crucified. And he also warned them that when these things happened, they would run away, leaving him to face his death alone, with only his heavenly Father watching over him. Then, after assuring them that he would rise from the dead and that they would see him again, Jesus said, "These things I have spoken to you, that in me you might have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer, I have overcome the world." Jesus' earthly life was filled with chaos. People used to trick him with their questions and intimidate him with mockery and ridicule. Failing that, they put him to death and locked the doors on his tomb to keep him from getting out. But on the third day, he rose from the dead, just as he had said he would. Jesus' enemies did all they could to destroy him. He overcame everything they did to him. And thanks to our faith in him as Redeemer and King, so can we. All right, just one last thing before I close is a correction. In the March 25th edition of the Banner and Press, in the story entitled Kelwood Farmers Market Starting Up for Third Season, Kaylee Mund was incorrectly identified as the owner of the Kelwood barn. Mund owns the Mountain General, a business which operates inside the barn. However, the barn itself is owned by a group of Kelwood community members. So the Banner and Press apologizes for that error. So that is it for this week's edition of the Nippua Banner and Press. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Bye for now.